Bună dimineața! Mă bucur că ați venit astăzi, că mă sper că v-ați trăsnit bine. Acum nu mai vorbit românește foarte mult și mă scuzați că greșesc, dar mai am vrut să vă adres cu câteva cuvinte în limba română, că aici România este o parte de istoria mea și din cauza asta nu vreau să încep în engleză, vreau să lăsesc câteva cuvinte aici limba. Deci, cum am auzit acum, istoria de sunet are implicație cu iluzie, cu fantasie și cu imaginația. Și asta e tema despre care am vrut să vorbesc. Okay, now I'm changing to English, but I'm not remaining in my half wrong Romanian. It's just been that I've been living in southern Transylvania, which was the theme already today for some time, and that's why I wanted to relate to it. Finally, I came today to talk about themes of illusion, themes of fantasy, and themes of imagination related to sound. Somehow I'm on the opinion that form is the shadow of sound, and all of this is related to cosmological instruments being the horn of imagination. So in a modern world, as Maria was just explaining, in a secularized world, we always have this sense of things getting destroyed, of things ending, but we do not really want to accept these things ending. We try to stick and hold on to what was past, and somehow we want to also destroy this past. So all this is some kind of process of ending and beginning, and it has to do a lot with remembrance. Sound creates remembrance, and it creates illusions, imaginations, fantasies that have to do with remembrance. And that's probably the theme that I also want to get to, which is the sonic eschatologies, talking about form, the shadow of sound. So I would like to ask you in the beginning, what would you probably understand under the term eschatology? Anybody can give me an answer to that? Or anybody wanting to give me an answer? Yes, yes. Yes. Yeah. We're coming close, yeah. Yes. Something else? Okay, yeah. It's also a question after eschatology is the meaning of the end and the beginning, and the meaning of apocalypse in any sense. What does that mean to us in a secular world? What does it mean in senses of the critical zone we are living in here on the world, changing critical zones, changing surface of the world, changing imaginations, changing sense of revolution. So what should it be, eschatology? Is it an investigation into room and time? Or is it a reflection on mono-apocalyptic doom? Are we before, after, or in the midst of the lifting of the wheel, which is the Greek meaning of apocalypse? Is it the qualities of sound and meaning reverberating, disappearing and resonating? the inability to build paradise on earth? Is it anti-ideology or anti-theology? Is it all about the second coming? The manifestation of the social construction called culture? Or is it about the political implications of growing from earth, like we growing from earth, taking a beginning or an end, so it can also have an ecological meaning? It could be also the driver of alienation, all themes that like we heard yesterday and today, and like it's all implicit to like the theme of eschatology, I would say. Is it probably the reason of constant emancipation from concrete, like concrete, which is like the solid material of cities being built? Or is it the driver of feedbacks on Earth and beyond? However, it is like quite impossible to stop questioning the sonic implications of the end. So it's probably better to like dive right into the limit, into the membrane of perception. Anyhow, we constantly do that. We constantly do that with what intention? I don't know whether I'm feeling dizzy or you are feeling dizzy. Probably nobody is feeling dizzy. So again, we should like ask, what has all of this to do with the horn of imagination, this like instrument that is somehow related to themes of apocalypse? As they said, that Seraph is like blowing into this horn, and what's happening if it's blown into this horn? Is this like scenery ongoing? Are we in the midst of it? Or are we before it? Or are we after it? Or is it just like an imagination showing us in metaphors certain illusions of being, certain forms as being the shadow of sound within the horn of imagination? I would like to go back to like a recent work of mine, which is called Quellgeist number 4, like work on like old and deserted church organs that are found in Transylvania here. But let me just say more about it afterwards. I'm trying to find... Ljaško, can you like help me about it? I don't find the window around here.
No, it's here. I already put it on the screen. And you see the mouse is here.
Okay. So I will search the minute here. Yeah,
exactly.
So, which we are going a minute around here. Yeah. Okay, so it's all work in process, and that's part of this like recent work of mine, number 4, and let's see. So I try to cite like a classic example of sonic eschatology as found in like the Quran, fitting somehow the matter. And in the horn will be blown, and at once from the graves to their Lord they will hasten. They will say, "Oh, woe to us! Who has raised us up from our sleeping place?" A classic example from the Quran. But there is also like the more well-known example from the Bible, for example. Now the 7 angels who had the 7 trumpets prepared to be blown, them, from the Revelation. Here sound is not just a signal, it's an agent of transformation. Sonic vibrations becoming a mode of divine intervention and change. So sonic eschatology in the Quran and the Bible is epitomized by the trumpet's blasts of revelation, where sound marks the rupture between the present age and the age to come. The auditory dimension carries theological weight. Divine sound reorganizes creation and announces its end. So I want to go back to a classic work about like occidental eschatology by Jakob Taube, questioning the notion of apocalyptic thought and revolution. What does that really mean? And like this Gnostic thought of us being alienated in this world and how we want to create a revolution out of this. So Taube writes, "The question of freedom is the primal theme of apocalyptic thought, and all its motives point towards the turning point at which the structure of the prison bursts apart. Apocalyptic thought is not at first concerned with changing the social structure of society, rather it turns its gaze away from the world. If revolution means merely replacing an existing social order with a better one, then the connection between apocalypticism and revolution is not evident. But if revolution means setting a new totality against the totality of the world, then apocalypticism is, in its essence, revolutionary." So this was written 1947, and that was a time where like questioning revolutions was quite necessary, and still it is up to date because everybody wants to have change, and can we do this change like by self-righteous means? Are we the right ones? Are the other ones the wrong ones? It's always like these questions of like who is right about their own revolution, and so. So this is like right now coming back to the more earthly themes. Liminal qualities of composting culture are investigated as an organic revolution, which is like constantly ongoing, the organic revolution. So there's lots to say, but you can like read more about it in the article, which soon will be published through the Sonic Turn. Don't want to take too much time. I think it's good to go to another example of Jakob Taube, because he explains it all very well, and the basic notion of this apocalyptic thought. The general introduction to nearly all mundane Gnostic writing reads, "In the name of the great first alien life from the exalted worlds of light that stands above all works." In this introduction lies already the guiding thread for understanding the apocalyptic Gnostic sense of life. Within the sphere of apocalyptic thought, the theme of self-alienation resounds for the first time. The alien, or the stranger, is the first great primal word of apocalypticism, and it is entirely new in the history of human speech. The primal word of the alien and the theme of self-alienation run through the whole of apocalyptic Gnostic thought. So truth seems to be a construction, a fashionable filter of trying to avoid the end of times, which is like our modern state of being. So why not going straight post-apocalypse? Then we are right in paradise, right where no more responsibility is existing. Me and my rights, us and our rights. You are wrong. We bring peace by telecommunication. Scroll down the timeline to find paradise on earth. But a very important question within those insights might be, for how long will the paradise on earth last? Is the main goal to find paradise or to avoid purgatory? Maybe the tension of living between those states may contain some deep phenomenological answers, which might be heard in the horn. Which horn? The horn of imagination, which is like the in-between between like individuality and community. And as it is said, that eschatology are the most beautiful community stories, because the end implies society. As for example, the Arab word deen, and deen is like translated from Arab mainly as apocalypse, but in fact it means society. The initial meaning of the word deen is society, mostly translated in the Quran as apocalypse, but in fact it is society. So the saying that like eschatology is the most beautiful society stories, the most beautiful community stories, is quite valid in that distinct sense. You all know this like song by Gilles Carterin, "The revolution will not be televised," and probably that's what we are talking and heading for. And it's also a question, what does all of this mean in Europe, in current politically and like in the current state of European being. So I would like to state here German philosopher Peter Sloterdijk about his like investigation into the continent without character, his recent work. So Europe's most significant, though risky, achievement in the history of civilization consists in having released individuals from the state of total membership in closed cultic and faith communities. Further on he writes, "Enlightened Europe will remain alive only as long as the creative passions keep those of resentment in check." A very important one. It cannot yet be said with certainty whether the highest degree of danger lies in the myth of decline, the myth of the final battle of decision, or the myth of the Redeemer. Europe's future remains only moderately secure so long as its citizens, even amid multiple crises, can resist the gravitational pull of mythical solutions. Those promised by national conservative movements, imagined brotherhoods, and fabricated alternatives. As it is said, the revolution will not be televised. So finally, in that sense, I would like to give two statements by like the British late Baroque poet and painter William Blake. And he wrote like, "While the mind is rolling in fear, flat earth is becoming a bowl. And religion was brought to earth by God and organized by the devil." So, in that sense, I would like to come back to this work that I just introduced. It is named Quellgeister, which means like source spirits in German. And as you see, it's all about deserted and rotten church organs, which I mainly found in Transylvania. So about like deserted churches and their indwelling instruments having been left behind by like the Saxon communities, because as you know, in an Orthodox church there's just a choir, which is anyhow way more interesting than any church organ, which is like a machine, a rationalized machine. So my question was like, to cut it short in that sense, what happens if I release these like machines, not I, but like nature or like Earth releases these machines into the wild, and which kind of character does like get hold of these instruments? How do they change their like the sound, and how do they change the tuning they have, which becomes to be not a constructed tuning system, but like a more natural tuning system. However, I don't like the term nature, which is like a construction of us being a subject and nature being the object. So like the method of modern science, and probably our problem in modernity, you might know about it. Like this like subject-object culture versus nature is also always object and slave, master and slave duality. And I'm trying to somehow question all of this by like getting into the sound of the character of these lost instruments. Recently I got also, as you've seen, into the character of like completely derelict and yellowed frescoes, which I've been mad about in Orthodox churches around here in Romania. So like the frescoes that would like show apocalyptic content from hereafter, or would show witchcraft, and these frescoes again being rotten over 200-300 years. So I love this process of a fresco being rotten, and this like goes like analog to like the organs being rotten. And that's why I thought, what about like doing a structural recycle of these rotten frescoes, and somehow trying to animate and recycle the frescoes by means of artificial intelligence. So I'm not an expert about that, and no talk about artificial intelligence, but I found it interesting because it's a critical approach, because there is no statistical qualities and quantities found about like an organic change. And artificial intelligence is in the sense of like hyper-realism, like the Roman hyper-realism, depicting imagination of the hereafter of heaven. This like hyper-realism is like that. I would say it's the main characteristic of like output of artificial intelligence prompting engines. So like how to hack this system with like giving an input of like rotten yellowed frescoes, naive imaginations of apocalypse. This was like part of this recent work that you can also see tomorrow at Control Club. I will present the whole work tomorrow evening in the context of the Sonic Turn. I will present all of it, but here's just an example. I need to find the time. 21, I don't really see the time and space. Go for a little, yeah, that's like another try of like doing recycling of these yellowed frescoes. Getting out of this like hyper-realistic state that you've seen before. Now we're getting right into the matter. And the sound is like this like church organs, old rotten church organ that I found next to Mediash in South Transylvania. Coming back to the theme again. his bar doesn't work. I like technique going wrong, but it's okay. It's okay. Finish. That's it. Thank you. So it's just an example, and I'm taking just parts of the whole performance, as I was not wanting to slice it up. So yeah, it's a nice picture here remaining, and yeah, about like this project of mine, Quellgeister, about the deserted church organs that I like would release and like screen in an acoustic way. That you're warmly invited tomorrow at the Cultural Club in the evening. You can read more in an article I've written at the Attic in times of curfew, in times of lockdown, which is like fitting because the theme of organs, church organs in lockdown, like the change, the characteristic change that they've taken during lockdown is implicit. So I would like to like address this article I've written a few years ago. Dear Dragoș Ruju was like asking me to do so, and I'm always glad to come back here for invitations concerning the matter of eschatology. So finally, I'm coming back to where I have this like notion of eschatology in the context of the horn of imagination from. It somehow comes from the writings of the Sheikh al-Akbar, which is like a very well-known philosopher and a mystic writing in Arab. His name is Ibn al-Arabi. He was writing about the themes of imagination and the themes of in-between, and I was like investigating his work during like my studies of Arab language and like related themes. So I was writing about the Barzakh, and the Barzakh is like somehow the in-between, and in this in-between we find this writings of his about the horn of imagination. So as becomes evident in Ibn Arabi's monumental work Al-Futuhat al-Makkiyah, an intermediate realm appears to be represented as a horn. Within this formative instrument of light, the entire creation is reflected in subtle mixtures of modulated states. Through the symbolic analogy of a physical instrument, corporeality is brought into spatial presence. The Arabic word sur means horn in this context, but it derives from the same root as form. So we have the horn and the form, as like form being like the shadow of sound, as I mentioned before, in the same word of sur, meaning form and horn. Thus producing a wordplay between formative imagination and the apocalyptic trumpet. So here is like another statement from also an Islamic Middle Age writer by Muhammad al-Ghazali. He's quite well known, a theologian, but also beyond. And he writes about this like horn, about this sur. Then God, the glorified and exalted, will give life to Israfil, peace be upon him. He will blow the trumpet from the rock of the holy house. The trumpet is a horn of light. It has 14 coils, each one as vast as the circuit of the sun and the earth. Upon it are openings equal in number to the created spirits. Then the spirit of all creatures will emerge from it with a buzzing like that of bees, and will fill everything between the two horizons. So finally, there's one more statement by Ibn al-Arabi about like this whole notion of the horn of imagination. You should know that God brought the trumpet into existence in the form of a horn. It was named the trumpet in the way that things are named by the name of what is near to them or causes them. Since this horn is a locus for all the barzach, like the in-between, forms into which the spirits pass after death and in sleep, it was called sur, the plural of form, as explained before. Its shape is that of a horn. Its high end is wide and its low end is narrow, like the shape of the cosmos. The facilities pass with the spirit into that barzach form in sleep and death. That is why the spirit perceives by means of all its faculties without distinction. So in terms of sonic eschatology, the trumpet or the voice, so more or less the form as a shadow of sound, signals the shift from one order to another. It's like this revolutionary aspect I was talking about before. The horn is the instrument of transition. The sound is implicit in the blowing, the breathing into the horn, into the form. So as reality is a social construction and as the end is society itself, let's keep resonating as trace symmetry within the form of the horn. Let's keep sounding on earth. Thank you.